Well, I'm here today at the university having a nice time. It's a fairly hectic schedule. I started out at 9:30 attending Dr. Miller's U.S. history course, and later today I'm lecturing at 5 o'clock about a new book that I published a few months ago, Gateway to Freedom. This book is about the Underground Railroad before the Civil War, the people helping fugitive slaves escape, the nature of the slaves themselves, why they ran away, how they did it, and then who helped them at various points along the way in the North, and also about the fugitive slave controversy as a major political issue before the Civil War, helping to widen the breach, you might say, between North and South, and being one of the many factors that led to the Civil War. So I'm talking about the documentation that I used in this book, and the document that I started with, which was came to my attention accidentally, serendipitously, through a student, an undergraduate history major. And one day she said to me, "You know, Professor, up in this collection there's this document about fugitive slaves. It's not really relevant to what I'm doing, but you might find it interesting." And one day I went up there, and yeah, I'd never heard of this. It was two little notebooks kept by an anti-slavery journalist called Sidney Howard Gay, and in the 1850s he was sort of the point man on the Underground Railroad in New York City, and for 2 years he interviewed over 200 fugitive slaves who came through New York, and being a journalist he kind of asked their life stories and why did you escape, who owned you, how did you get out, who helped you, and he recorded what he did. The thing is, it wasn't in somebody's attic or hidden away, it was in the library, but luckily no one knew it was there, basically. Gathering and assessing documents, or sources, writing, making an argument, knowing how to bring together information in a coherent way. That's what history is. The study of history is teaching people, and that's a skill which is valuable in many, many lines of work. I enjoy the opportunity to talk to people about history, whether it's just lecturing, as I do very frequently, to non-academic audiences, being on TV. I've been on The Daily Show, I've been on the Colbert Report. You know, now that's a different sort of thing than writing a scholarly tome, but it does enable you to say a few useful things about our history. You're reaching a different audience with good history, you hope, and if you believe that knowledge of history is something that's valuable in this society, the more people you can reach, the better. Our job is spreading knowledge, and you can do that in many, many different ways, and the more you can do that, the better. I'm the author of a U.S. history textbook, which is used here and many other places, but somehow, every time I revise it, which is every few years, I'm thinking about what are students interested in right now. And one of the ways I learned that is by coming to campuses and talking to students and seeing what aspects of history interest them, because that changes, and it changes depending on the place. I mean, here, for example, not surprisingly, given the history of Oklahoma, there's a lot of students working on Native American history in one way or another, and I've tried to integrate more Native American history into my textbook as time goes on. It's not something that I learned when I was in college. It's a relatively new field, but very important and very good research being done in it. And so it helps me when I come to a campus to hear what sorts of work is being done at different universities around the country. It's very nice to visit a campus which is new to me and just learn a little bit more about how higher education is going in this country.